In the third row, car number 81, driven by T.J. Giddings, alongside car 31, driven by John Stevenson. In the fourth row, car 65X, Gary Lynch, and alongside 1A, driven by Jeff Swindell. And in the fifth row, car 75, Doug Wolfgang, and number 24, Chuck Morgan. Those are your 10 starters for the first 10-lap heat race.
The race is lined up inverted, the fastest qualifiers in the back, and there is the fastest qualifier within this heat race, Doug Wolfgang. If you're a sprint car fan, you certainly need no introduction to that man. He has won a World of Outlaw feature in each of the past 5 seasons. Last year, he was the 3rd best winner on the trail, trailing only Sammy Swindell and Steve Kinzer. Wolfgang won 20 times in 1981. He's not having quite as prolific of a season in the 1982 year, but he has been a little more selective as he drives the Stanton Race Car Factory house car. Doug Wolfgang, one of the few racing drivers in America today running out of South Dakota. He calls home Sioux Falls, which incidentally they tell me is the largest city in a 5-state area, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
They have done extensive work on this racetrack overnight. As we indicated, they did run here last night, and 4 drivers qualified for our feature this afternoon. And because of the hot sunshine here this afternoon, the track is going to have a tendency to dry out. But at this point, and they have run several laps on it in warm-ups, looks like the track is holding together very, very well. As far as the track itself is concerned, it is a 1/2 mile oval, as we indicated. It is high bank, 20 degrees, and it is dirt over blacktop. This track was originally a paved track, but it was decided a few years ago when Greg Well bought it that it should be made a dirt track, and it is one of the fastest in the nation.
The only potential problem the fact that this is a dirt track on top of a paved track creates is that the track surface is elevated considerably in comparison to the height of the wall. More on that in a second. Let's go back to the track records.
And the track record by Bobby Davis, 108.43 miles an hour. That's 16.60 seconds. That was set on August 9th, 1982.
Originally, when the track was built, the track surface, of course, at least the wall, was about 3 feet above the plane of the race cars. Well, now, with the anywhere from 8 to 14 inches of dirt on top, the wall is as short as a foot. And for these sprint cars, that's a bit of a scary situation. And talking with a couple of the drivers yesterday here, particularly when you go down the backstretch, the wall gets very short just as you enter turn number 3. And all it would do if a sprint car were to hit it would simply be to trip it, and the car would go end over end and catapult over the outside wall.
As we've watched, though, in the earlier races here, the cars have a tendency to run low or at least in the middle of the racetrack, and very, very rarely do you see a car up high enough to get in trouble and hit the wall.
And one thing you'll notice if you've not seen very many races with wings, not only can they go around the corners very fast, but once the driver gets out of the throttle, stands on the brakes, these cars sit right down on the ground and almost stop.
Well, we'll see if we get a start this time. There are 9 cars out there, and the car on the outside pole position jumps off a little bit, and therefore we do not have a green. You have to be pretty well lined up coming down here before the starter will give them the green flag. And that time, Jerry Potter in car number 12, outside of row number 1, got quite a jump on pole sitter Rick Howard in car number 7.
Now there's the number 81 car of T.J. Giddings. We saw him earlier this year in a USAC sprint car race. T.J. was fairly competitive without the wing in that USAC sprint car race.
Well, we'll see if we get a go this time. Off of turn number 4 onto the straightaway. This time they're lined up much better, and the green is out. Heat number 1 underway. And jumping off into the lead is Jerry Potter in car number 12. He has a considerable lead as they head down the backstretch. Running in second position is Rick Howard. Here they are moving into the turns. Turn number 4, completion of lap number 1 of 10 in the first heat race. It is Potter leading. Second place belongs to Rick Howard, and in third is Todd Bishop in the car 80X. Down the backstretch they go once again with Potter continuing to stretch out the advantage. He has a straightaway lead at the end of a lap and a half.
Well, 2nd through 9th is tightly contested as we watch later. There you see him coming through the 3rd and 4th turns. The car to watch for, of course, will be that white number 75 of Doug Wolfgang. Heavy traffic in the back of the pack.
Jerry Potter, car number 12, into turn number 3 once again. Notice how quickly the cars move through the turns with the air being forced down upon that huge wing. It gives the car tremendous stability and good speed. We've had a serious accident on the inside of the 4th turn, Bob. We have a cement wall that sticks out in the direction of travel, and one of the cars, car number 7, we believe,
Rick Howard has collided with that cement abutment. He hit it broadside. Doug Wolfgang is also involved. We do have a potentially serious situation here.
And 3 cars are involved. 2 of them are near the inside of the track, while the third car, the number 65, driven by Gary Lynch, is to the outside of the racetrack. And here is what happened.
Well, there is Doug Wolfgang. He's running about 6th or 7th at that time, coming off the inside of the number 4 corner. Gary Lynch just to his outside or right side. You see cars spinning in front of him. Wolfgang makes contact with the number 7 of Rick Howard, pushes Rick out of control and headed toward that cement wall. And you see from the right-hand side of your screen where Rick's car has made contact with that cement wall and tips over after colliding with the wall at probably in the vicinity of 80 to 90 miles per hour. The race car pirouetting on its side and coming back to rest on its wheels.
So the only car that made contact with the wall is Rick Howard, car number 7. Wolfgang managed to avoid the fence, and so did the other driver involved, Gary Lynch, who really spun to avoid the melee and came to a rest at the outside of the racetrack.
Bob, I think he's moving around inside that race car. Very good news from that crash scene down there. That was a horrendous crash.
It was. He hit it broadside very hard, and then, of course, the car went into a pirouette and turned over. So it was definitely a potentially dangerous situation, but if our indications are correct, he is getting out of the race car. Here it is again, Larry.
There's Doug Wolfgang. You can just see again on the right-hand side of your screen the debris from the crash, the debris flying in the car, having lost most of the weight up front. The wing came off and the car going out of control and more or less just rolling over, spinning around. It was not so much that it was a rollover as such. Coming back to rest right side up. You can see the front end of the race car just about broken off the machine.
Well, we are under red, of course, after 3 laps of the first heat. We will be back with more from I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri, the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars.